that are one. Take back the womb of existence. We shall rupture. The abyss knocks once, and is we that fail.
Hey guys, so in this video we're going to go over the updated Witchhunter crossbow build for 0.2. Keep in mind that the build is a little bit bugged at the moment, or mainly fresh clip, so we're missing out on about 40 to 70% of our damage. So once that skill gets fixed, you can look forward to having an additional 40 to up to 70% or so more damage. It's going to be pretty insane. So even though we are killing Xesht in about like 10 to 12 seconds, once fresh clip is fixed, you'll probably just be deleting him in under like 5 seconds. So that's pretty cool. So I didn't want to level a new Witchhunter, so I went in standard, and pretty much all the same changes or patches or whatever are on standard as well. So I think it's okay, and I didn't use any like bugged standard items, right? So anyways, so the character we're going to look at is a little bit endgame, you would say. The gear we're using is pretty good, although the crossbow I have is still one of the older crossbows, so it doesn't have a lot of the newer affixes, affix roll ranges, so crossbow could be quite a bit better. So there is that. You could get a bit more damage, and I will include a sort of more lower budget-ish PoE in the mobalytics page. You can go check out all of those. And over the next, course of this week, I'll be making more endgame concept POBs for you guys to look at, or anyone else who is more progressed on the build for Witchhunter as well as Monk. Basically, this is my Monk Lightning Spear and Shockburst rounds combo, or hybrid you could say, that I've ported over to Witchhunter. And some of the pros for Witchhunter is, first of all, mapping is really insane. Like, you get to have Sorcery Ward, which is actually a lot better than I remember it from last patch. Having Sorcery Ward, Evasion, Energy Shield, all that nice 3 combo is pretty, comfy in maps. I definitely don't feel, threatened at all in maps to just kind of run around and throw your lightning spears out. And I haven't even died once in maps. Doing like Xesht Breaches, T16, and all that kind of stuff. Tons of modifiers, and it's been totally fine. So yeah, defense-wise, Witchhunter, very, very good. On bossing, I did switch up a couple of things. So like I spec'd out of Sorcery Ward, and I spec'd into both of the damage nodes, like the Concentration and Decimating Strike, and that actually worked out pretty good. I mean, if you want to be safer, you just stick to the Sorcery Ward setup that I'll show you, but I'll show both setups of what we did in the video, I guess. Okay, so let's go over the character. Okay, so the skill interactions you need to know about are basically the same as on the Monk. So for Shockburst rounds, it's our single target damage, and in order to actually do the full damage, which is going to be from these pulses, the target does need to be shocked. And we are shocking with the Choir of the Storm amulet. And every time you crit, this is going to proc the Lightning Bolt, and the Lightning Bolt then will shock the target, and then our Shockburst rounds can do its full DPS. Aside from that, on a weapon swap, we're going to be using the Effigy of Cruelty with a Orb of Storms. So we can put down the Orb of Storms, and when we swap back to the crossbow and start attacking, it's going to zap nearby things, and when this Orb of Storms crits, it's going to apply critical weakness from the Effigy of Cruelty. So we get our crit weakness from there, and that is about it as far as interactions. Okay, so, and then Lightning Spear, we're basically just doing Herald of Thunder with the Neural Overload, Electrocute, and Combat Frenzy. So that's how we get our frenzies. If you have Profusion in Combat Frenzy along with Perpetual Charge on your Lightning Spear, you're pretty much always gonna have a frenzy charge as long as you're not spamming your lightning spear. And the way you want to play with the lightning spear is you want to just like throw a lightning spear and then walk around till you get at least 20 volt charges, right? So you just throw your lightning spear, then go to the next pack, and you can kind of group the mobs up, right? Because you don't want to throw your lightning spear out when there's like 2 mobs, right? So you just group them up and then throw the lightning spear, and it'll just delete everything. Right, and then for our single target, like we said, all we do is put down the Orb of Storms, and then we just start shooting. All right, so let's go over the skills. The skills are exactly the same from my monk setup. So you can go take a look at all the gems, but the main thing that might be a little bit tricky is getting your lightning bolt to actually shock targets, right? So right now you can see the DPS on this is about 5,800. And I've gotten shocks on bosses with about 4,000 DPS tooltip, right? So if you can get about 4K tooltip, then you should be okay. But if you're having trouble proccing the shocks, I will show, I'll have another setup. We'll go over later, I guess. But basically you use the companion with the hits always shock, and then that companion will just basically do the shocking for you. And yeah, you'll have to use a couple of different gear items, but that setup is going to be quite a lot easier to start early on. Okay, so there's that, and then let's go over the lightning spear. Lightning spear, there's not really much to say about here. I'll just hover over the gems. You can see the tooltip actually pretty respectable, even with my like really bad weapon. There's no good spears in standard right now, so I had to actually go buy one from Alpha, gamble one, and then I bought like 20 divines worth of these chaos orbs and just like chaos spammed it until we had something decent. Anyways, it's like 200 DPS weapon, so yeah. Anyways, but yeah, you can get way better in League at the moment. And then for Shockburst rounds, like we said, fresh clip is bugged. You can see that even after we are reloading, we're not getting any kind of damage boost, right? So this is gonna be quite a bit more damage once this is fixed. And the tooltip on the bolts is like 63 or 64 thousand DPS, and the pulses are at like what, 370,000. So, and this is without having an actually good crossbow. Like this one is only 430 DPS, and I've seen someone trade there are like 1,400 DPS crossbows, right? It's like over double the flat DPS or the DPS that mine currently has. So I think with like this gear, you're going to be getting well over 100k tooltips on the bolts. So that's pretty cool. Okay, so Orb of Storms, like I mentioned, this is just to proc the critical weakness, and you want to make sure it is only checked on to set the set that your effigy of cruelty is on. If you have it set to set 1 as well, then when you put it down on the crossbow, it's going to be not going to apply the critical weakness. And these links are sort of like, you don't really need to do any of these, but the only one you probably want is Persistence and Font of Rage, so it's going to start to give you a little bit of rage, which is kind of nice. And I used to use the plus limit, but then I realized only having 1 orb is actually just totally fine. You don't need 2 orbs, so. Okay, and then emergency reload, we have premeditation, and we don't really need this actually because Witchhunter already has crit, so might as well just take it out. All right, and then we have our auras. So let's go over the aura setup. Now this part is going to be quite tricky because it is going to require good gear. And what I mean by that is, so this right now is the end game aura setup. So in order to actually get this, how much spirit do we need? We are going to need about 180 spirit. So that means we need to get 80 spirit from somewhere. So where do we get that from? For the ultra end game setup, right? Basically, you're going to need some on the body armor. And the rest you're going to get from Against the Darkness, like something like this. And this is going to be really expensive, right? So until you can get that, basically you just can't run Blink on your crossbow set. So you're not going to have Blink, right? So this will be totally fine without the... let's take this out. So without the Against the Darkness, basically it's going to look like this. You're going to have your Cast on Shock, Overwhelming Presence, Herald of Thunder. And you'll have a little bit of extra spirit, right? So you can add some other kind of supports. So you get Cast on Shock, Overwhelming Presence, and Herald of Thunder for your crossbow. And then for your spear setup, you're just not going to be able to run this Cast on Shock, right? So you're going to have, or can you? No, you can't. So you're going to have Overwhelming Presence, Combat Frenzy, and Herald of Thunder, on Blink. So that's the aura setups. Now, if you do have enough spirit, like one of these jewels, and I think you should only buy one that has the damage as extra lightning. And the reason why you want damage as extra lightning, I guess because we are a lightning build, first of all. But this is also going to increase your lightning bolt damage. Alright, so that is the gems. Let's go over the gear. So for the crossbow, we want something with high DPS. Can be physical or lightning. Increased elemental damage with attacks is okay as well, but a pure flat, good rolls on flat damage is also acceptable as well. I think, though, you definitely do want to have a high crit chance, so prioritize getting high DPS and then having a high crit chance first of all, then attack speed. And lastly, if you can, crit damage bonus or level to prod gems. Then for the soul cores, we want crit damage bonus. And then let's see, for the helmet, we're going to need a evasion helmet. Energy shield helmet, because we're going to be doing anointing subterfuge mask on our amulet. So that's going to give us evasion rating per energy shield. So you could see that this helmet is kind of crazy. This helmet that I have 550 ES, so that's over 1,000 flat evasion for the helmet. And then for the body armor, we're going to need evasion energy shield base, and then so if you're not going to be running an Against the Darkness like this for the max spirit setup, then it's actually pretty easy, because all you need is an extra 20 spirit or 50. Oh no, 20, right? Because you can see I have 30 left over I'm not even using. So the bare minimum is plus 20 spirit, and then you can run this setup for the all the auras we went over. And then if you want to min-max it a bit, you are going to need a 50 spirit item at least, and then the Against the Darkness jewel. Okay, and then after that, first of all, one thing to note about the actual build is attributes are going to be very, very annoying. You can see I have attributes here. I've got intelligence on pretty much everything, dex on almost everything. My rings have stats. This one has double stats. So getting I even have a corrupted dex roll on my Acquire the Storm. So getting attributes is going to be quite hard. So something to keep in mind, you want to prioritize getting attributes. You can see we're going to need 191 intelligence, 205 dex, and 116 strength. I'm a little bit over on dex, but so if you're having trouble with attributes, what I recommend you do is you drop some of this stuff here, like this evasion stuff, this extra movement speed stuff, maybe some damage, and go into the attribute wheel here. This Jack of all trades is also going to give you a decent damage increase, but this area should help you get your stats before you have enough gear. And that's what I'm actually doing in my monk right now. I just can't unspec these nodes here because I need all the attributes. But anyways, okay, so that's the body armor. And then for the amulet, yeah, we already went over this. And then for the rings, we want so the rings and the belt will cover at the same time. So Ingenuity is going to be the best in slot belt, unless you want a headhunter, or what do you call it? But it's only going to be good when you have good rings, right? So until you have 2 rings, I think good rings are going to be rings with flat lightning damage and increased lightning damage. That combo, very good rolls on those, as well as resistances, right? You can see this one has 24 to all elemental resistances, because when you use the lightning modifier on all elemental resistances, that also gets increased, right? So keep that in mind. And then, yeah, once you have good rings, then Ingenuity is going to be good. Until then, it's not. And one thing to note is, I didn't notice, but mine has 5% increased charges used. So that means I can never use my freezing charm unless I roll the charm with increased charges, right? So you can see it's actually 0 of 0 because it's using more charges. So something to keep in mind when you swap to the new Ingenuity. Okay, then for the gloves, you don't need to use an evasion base. This can be evasion or evasion energy shield, or even armor energy shield, or armor evasion, because Witchhunter, the sorcery ward, will give you, ward based on the armor or evasion, but preferably you have evasion or evasion energy shield. And what we're looking for here is just going to be attack speed, some attributes, resistances, and then flat lightning, flat physical, and then just a lot of evasion, or a lot of evasion and energy shield. I haven't really dabbled with Hand of Wisdom in action, but with the current stats of my character, it's actually not as good, or it's like 2 or 3% better. So I don't really know if it's actually going to be worth it. Maybe in endgame PoB we can, but I actually think that it's only going to be good if you go the full stat stacking route with Ascendancy and all the other attribute gear. But until then, I think just a good rare pair of gloves is going to be a lot better because you can get attributes, you can get resistances, you get attack speed, you get flat damage, and yeah, anyways. Okay, and then for the boots, same exact thing. All we need is attributes and resistances. Okay, so this is the gear, and you probably want to use a stun charm. First of all, if you only have a 1 charm slot, and then a freeze charm. So that's the 2 I would use. After that, you use a silver charm. Or you could use the chaos charm, whichever one you want. But that's it for the gear. Right now, the character is not running Eternal Youth, but you could try running this as well. But I felt that having the sorcery ward, it does sort of protect your energy shield from elemental damage. So that means it's not your recharge happens more reliably, I noticed. So I just hadn't spec'd into that. Okay, but let's go over the jewels. So aside from the Against the Darkness, what another good jewel to be on the lookout for is going to be a Megalomaniac like this. And basically you want to get something with good mods on it, right? So you could get one with like Subterfuge Mask. That means you could change your Anoint, or you can find some other ones. Like really good notables are going to be like Storm Charged. There's Vulgar Methods, this one here, Overwhelming Strike. I can't really find it, but there's another one, Vulgar Methods, that gives you like, oh, this one here. Yeah, this one's really good as well. Barbaric Strength, also pretty good probably. There's a lot of other good ones. Power Shots is okay as well. But yeah, anyways, if you can find a good Megalomaniac that's going to be better than a jewel like this, then I would definitely get one of these. And aside from that, for our jewels, I think we want to get most of our jewels to have evasion rating, and then you want to get crit damage, increase crit chance, and crit damage bonus. That's like the best 3 combo. And then after that, either increase lightning damage or increase elemental damage, because lightning damage and elemental damage will increase your lightning bolt damage and make it easier to shock. Okay, so something to keep in mind when picking your jewels is if you're getting just like projectile damage or attack damage, then it's not going to help your lightning bolts at all. And yeah, that's pretty much it. Okay, and then we are going to need 1 jewel, a sapphire jewel with recover 2% of maximum life on kill, and then you probably want to get ES, crit chance, crit damage bonus, and that kind of stuff here. So we have quite a few jewel sockets, 1 extra jewel socket than the monk, because we're pathing down this way. And I guess let's cover the tree. So how do I level this? And the answer is I don't know yet. So you'll probably have to do some kind of leveling setup until you're around. Actually, let's go check in PoB. All right, so this is the endgame PoB, and until you're leveled, you could probably cut stuff out like this. So probably I would start cutting out all of these like little extra things here. Probably even cut this out. Probably even cut this evasion stuff out if you have good enough gear, right? You can cut some of this stuff out, and you can see 83. It's like pretty good. You can cut one of these out here. This is actually easy node to get rid of, even though it does seem like a big DPS loss, like 13% DPS. Keep in mind this is reducing your crit chance overall, so yeah, you definitely want to have a high chance to crit. Alright, so as for the PoB, we pretty much are just getting all the crit stuff like the same thing as in the monk build, but this time around I think we are focusing a bit more on getting some more evasion for the sorcery ward, and you could probably cut out even some more damage nodes, like I don't know, you could get rid of maybe these and maybe these, and you could actually just go in and get more evasion, because there is like a lot of evasion all over this tree if you want, right? So there's more evasion here. This whole area is just packed with evasion, so that's something you could look into if you want to, you know, just you have enough damage and you just want to get a really big sorcery ward. Something you could look into. And on the other side, if you do want to move faster, there is quite a bit of movement speed around here. We can come down this way here. We can pick up a little bit of the movement speed here. There's also movement speed over here. So also quite a bit of movement speed in this area if you want to just move a little bit faster. And if you're having trouble with attributes, like I mentioned, just come down over here and pick up some of these attribute nodes over here. And you can see you're going to be getting quite a lot more attributes, and you're probably going to have to lose some damage. So you probably cut out like this stuff here, maybe this stuff here. And you'll probably have to get rid of a little bit of evasion, maybe, and 94, maybe even cut some of this. So like around level 90, this is like something you could do if you're really tight on attributes. Alright, so if you are having trouble getting the Choir of the Storm to actually reliably proc bosses and that kind of stuff, for whatever reason, then, or if you just can't get enough int for it, right? Because you do need quite a lot of int to actually use the lightning bolt. The level 19 lightning bolt is what, 191 int requirements. So that's pretty high. So if that is a problem, what you want to do is you want to get the Beacon of Azis Solar Amulet. So this one also has the same mod as Acquire the Storm, where with the critical hits ignore monster elemental resistances. And this also does give you spirit as well, so that's gonna be nice. So you run this, and then you need to get a pet with the all damage shocks modifier. And then what you can do is inside in the pet, I'll just show it over here. Okay, and then you support the pet or your companion with Last Grasp. So what this does is it the minions won't die for 4 seconds, even when their life is reduced to 0, so they're immune for 4 seconds, right? But the respawn timer, which is 5 seconds, does start to count down as soon as their life hits 0. So basically what this means is they only have a 1 second respawn time. And you can reduce this even more, I think. I haven't actually tested this, but you could probably reduce it even more with this area here. So that means your pet is pretty much active like 99% of the time, and he's going to be shocking for you, so you can do your Shockburst rounds and keep in, without any trouble. So that's that setup. I guess if I have time, I'll make a mobalytics variant for that setup, but that one's actually also very good as well. Okay, then let's talk about the Ascendancy, the last part. So right now, for sort of like standard play, I would say this setup is pretty good. We get Sorcery Ward, and then we get the Judge, Jury, Executioner for Decimating Strike, and Pitiless Killer. Now, if you want to go full on clear, I would say get rid of these 2 points, and then go into Zealous Inquisition for the extra Explode. It does feel really good in maps. Definitely recommend trying this out. And if you want to go full DPS, like when I was killing the Xesht in the intro clip, what I did was I got rid of Sorcery Ward and put it into Witchbane and No Mercy. Now, I did actually kill him with this setup as well, and it was a lot more comfy. When he does his like elemental explosions or his fireball, you can just stand there and tank it. It does no damage, right? So either way, but max DPS setup is you go for No Mercy, Witchbane, and Judge, Jury, Executioner, and Pitiless Killer. And anyways, that's the other kind of setups. Okay, so that's pretty much it, guys, for the build. Definitely a lot more things you guys could experiment with. Like there's, I haven't even, started doing any kind of weapon swaps or anything like that. But there's still quite a lot of things you can do in the build. But yeah, that'll be it for the video, guys. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.